All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Dag Calafell. Dag is a seasoned technology leader with more than 25 years of experience helping global manufacturers tackle complex challenges. As Director of Technology Innovation at MCA Connect, he partners with manufacturing executives to modernize systems and unlock the full potential of Microsoft technology. So, Dag, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Lisa.
So share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do.
Yeah, I would love to. And I started as a developer actually at manufacturing facility that built valves. Parker Hannifin, you may have heard of them.
Oh, sure.
Before.
Yeah, I think they're headquartered in Cleveland, aren't they?
What? They're made of when I worked there, they had over 100 divisions. And so there was no shortage of opportunity to work at Parker Hannifin.
There's a lot of Parker Hannifins here in Cleveland.
Yeah. And I think that got me started in how does IT help manufacturing? I built a product configurator. I helped replace some old Lotus Notes applications. But eventually I found myself following a girl to Texas where I found a different job. Also in manufacturing, worked at a steel service center. And it was there when I first got introduced to MCA Connect, where I work today, because they were our ERP implementer. They implemented Dynamics 365. Okay. And I switched over to being a Dynamics developer at that point and truly got a chance to touch almost every area of manufacturing, because ERPs, that type of software that handles finance, procurement, supply chain, manufacturing and execution and operations and planning. It goes everywhere. I got to participate in a lot of those discussions. And that's really where a lot of my manufacturing expertise comes from, being boots on the ground and listening to the pain points of people and trying to match that up with software. And that's part of the challenge that I love about being in manufacturing is not only is manufacturing a challenge in and of itself, building products is a very complex thing to do. And then how do you enable that with technology? And technology is changing the way we build things, and source materials continues to improve and change. And what we build changes. So that's what's kept me in this space.
All right. I could tell you've been around the manufacturing and finance for a long time because the words Lotus 1, 2, 3 came out of your mouth.
We're not recording that, are we? No.
It's funny because it just came up last week. My husband is a cost accountant, so he's been in manufacturing for a long time. And he also heard that term. And it was just something that you used to hear all the time. And now you don't anymore because technology has left it behind. So when you think about the tech tools that are making the biggest difference for manufacturers, what is standing out for you right now?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to the AIMST conference, AI in Manufacturing and SCADA Technology.
Okay.
And in reflecting on some of what I learned there and some of the things that I've been reading, I do feel like for manufacturers today, there's still a major opportunity to do automation. And certainly I work at a place where we are focused on Microsoft technologies. And Microsoft is a huge player in the software space. Obviously, there's a lot of automation and AI tools and technologies that Microsoft has brought to the space. And where MCA Connect fits and where I, Dag Calafell, fit is making that work for manufacturing, right? How do we apply those new AI tools and automation tools to make manufacturing more agile, more resilient, and protect our margins, let's say.
Right. And what are some of the uses you're seeing? What were some of the things that surprised you at that conference, at the AI conference that you just went to?
I think there was a space for the vendors. There were a lot of interesting sessions. One of the sessions was around the AI plan that the US government has released and how that should be executed. And there was an interesting collaborative conversation with the participants at that conference on how should the US be approaching AI and be viewed as an AI leader, and how does that affect manufacturing. I think that for me was very eye-opening. There were a lot of vendors there specifically around automation, as you could understand. MCA Connect was there really to hold the pillars of, you need a data foundation, you need good tools and technologies that we have in Microsoft Fabric and Dynamics 365 and Power Platform like Power Automate to handle the systems, right? So there still is this conversation of, there's the technology that runs our plant, and then there's the technology that runs our back office. And a lot of times they're still not communicating, or we get limited downloads, right? Like we know what orders we have and what we need to ship, and that's about all we know in the plant.
Right.
So part of what I do and MCA Connect does is to try to break down that barrier and be able to do financial planning and analysis or sales and operations planning with more real-time data and be able to be more agile. Because today I'm still talking to manufacturers where they're planning on a week basis. And even if there were a major disruption, they wouldn't actually probably adjust to it until the following Monday.
Yeah.
And so anything we can do to speed up the communication, whether that's human, data, or AI, then we can really be a lot more agile and adapt faster to some of these changes that are happening to us.
So with the conversations that you had in that room, I think the question is, there still a lot of fear that you're seeing with manufacturers who aren't really necessarily known for their liking change in the plant, and AI taking over the world? What do we automate? We don't need to automate. What were some of the conversations that you saw, pro and con, I guess, would be interesting to know.
Yeah. I mean, there still is that desire to understand the security aspect of it. I think that's more of an IT-led conversation and less of like a plant manager conversation that happens. At the plant level, they're really looking for, what efficiency am I driving? How much does it cost? And is there some sort of vendor lock-in? Because that still is quite, I don't know if rampant is the right word, but it's very easy for plant managers to get siloed and locked into a particular vendor, whether it's a machine shop or it's a piece of software or a SCADA system. And once they get deployed, then it's hard to move off. And so you need to make a right choice there. So to your point, there is some probably more increased vetting of solutions that are deployed inside of our plants because they are hard to change, right? And change is hard, to your point.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. And so as it relates to AI, though, I do feel like a lot of leaders are thinking of it as a way to help solve the challenges that we've been having with labor shortages or retiring workforce, especially.
Yeah.
And then also, how can we apply that to being more agile in the planning space? Those are two that come top of mind.
So what are some of the projects or innovations that you're most excited about at the moment?
We have several, but you brought up your husband as a cost accountant, and that happens to be one of the agents that we're working on. And it literally, and it all depends on your manufacturing processes, right? Sometimes I have clients who are running something that only takes them a couple of minutes. And then I have other more job-based companies that are taking a full month to complete a production order. But regardless, at the end of the production order, the question gets asked, have we made money? And surprisingly, that can be hard to answer. And it takes a lot of data. And sometimes, a lot of times you want to know not only the time it takes, the materials it takes, and the skill sets it took, because that may change your cost there, but also, did we have quality issues? And then if you did, then there's a whole nother set of questions you have around why was there a quality issue? What might the root cause have been? Are we doing anything to prevent that in the future? And so there's a lot of data that is both structured, like the time something took, what we were running, what recipe we used or programmed for the machines, if we have that kind of capability. But then there's some unstructured data, like there's a picture of the scratch or dent on this particular thing, or the paint is gone in this area, or it could be that there is just text. And we've enabled companies in the past to actually just dictate into a phone what they see and what they think they happened and how they've troubleshooted it, or how do they correct it, right? So if you're at the beginning of the run and you decide, oh, I was just running too fast, they can just verbalize that as opposed to going into their QMS and having to select from the dropdown. And we all hope that they're selecting the correct value there. It's hard to blame yourself when you're selecting something there.
Right.
So applying AI in that space has been very good from a standpoint of several things, actually. When you do that sort of autopsy, if you will, of orders that have larger variances than others, was it because we have too aggressive of a target from a cycle time standpoint? It actually doesn't take us only 2 minutes. It actually takes us 3 minutes per part. Therefore, we should probably plan on 3 minutes per part, and that could help our scheduling process. But not only that, right? You can identify issues with a particular operator or maybe a particular machine. I think back from my steel days, we had slitters and those cutters. Essentially, as you're shearing something, they need maintenance. And there's a whole bunch of things on your machinery that needs maintenance, or even just oil. It can be very simple root causes, but AI is able to look at it holistically or even look at a trend. Let me look at the past 20 orders for that part and come up with better root causes, and then even suggest potential corrective actions that we can take based on the high variance production orders.
Oh, wow. So what are the biggest outcome or goals that you're focused on this year, and what may make it tough for you to get there?
Yeah, existing in this space, MCA Connect, we're a partner that focuses on manufacturing and distribution, and we're very laser focused on that. And that's given us the ability to have experts in all areas, whether you're a CRM developer, an ERP developer, you could be a Lean Six Sigma expert, but all of us talk manufacturing. All of us have a background in kind of product delivery and service delivery and post-sales service. So from that aspect, skills are great. The technology keeps changing on us.
Yep.
So that's where we're focusing. So we've run hackathons. We're now currently running an academy, if you will, where we're putting a lot of people through a set of training that makes sure that we stay on top of what Microsoft and OpenAI and some of the other large companies out there are doing with AI. And certainly we make sure that there's communication amongst our teams so that what one person learns, the others are also learning. And we bring that learning to the next project that we bring. And so to a degree, it's almost that we're trying to keep up, but at the same time, and I feel like some manufacturers have the same kind of challenge. It's okay, if I were to automate my plant today in this way, would I have automated it the same way a year ago? Would that technology be the same? And would I do it the same in a year from now? Meaning, as things continue to change, you have to choose when you're doing your investment. And I keep having to ground myself and others around me in saying, now is a good time to invest. And it's really more about the ROI, right? Even if, let's say, you build or procure an AI tool that is obsolete in a year, if your ROI was 6 months, then it was worthwhile in that regard, right? And you don't necessarily have to replace it when the next shiny object comes out. It could still run for many more years beyond that. Really, I think the skilling has been one of the major challenges there. And as a professional consultancy, we also bring AI products to market. So that production costing agent is one of those examples. So we are balancing the new technology and capabilities with the needs of manufacturers. And if I were to just take a step back, the tools that we have today are significantly better than what we had last year. I look forward to what it will be in a year, but I think already the ROI the payback period has shortened because the tools have gotten much better. And I think they're still trying to catch up to where AI has capabilities and the tools just aren't surrounding it yet. So I do feel like we still have some great opportunities on the horizon, but I don't think that there's any reason to wait to invest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little mind-blowing, isn't it, to think about how far we've gone in the last 2 years with AI and can't even imagine what it's going to look like a year or 5 years from now at the rate we're going. Now, you had mentioned about that you had done a hackathon, and that always fascinates me. So what does that look like? Do you just set a whole lot of people in a room with a computer and with computers and say, hey, go figure out stuff or find new stuff? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, I think for every organization, it's probably a little bit different. But for us, we had two objectives out of it. Number one for us was part of that skilling process. You need to go and take a certification and then also build a project with what you learned and then present it. So we had teams that went through the certification process. They had a good use case, and then they built 3-minute demo videos for our judges to go and review. And there were actually, come to find out, there were teams that had the same exact idea and built the same thing 2 different ways, 3 different ways.
Oh.
And so it was neat to say, okay, now we can step back and ask ourselves, why did you make this decision? And why did you make that decision? And which one has the lower cost for running it? Which one might be more accurate? Or what are the pros and cons of each? So we ran it like that. So I've heard of companies where they will set aside a Friday or something like that and say, okay, everyone go have at it. And generally people have picked out what they're going to try to build before then and have an idea of how to do it. So you're not just spending the first half day kind of planning out what you wanted to do. But I think in the new age where it's been changing so significantly, we do need to spend the time to say, okay, we'll get up to speed, kind of look at some of these examples, and then think about your daily life and how can you make that better? Because what was interesting about the hackathon to me is that each of the teams had individuals from different areas of our company. So each had their own insight. They were their own SME as well as the builder or the maker of the solution. And that speeds up the solution making. Obviously, these are not things that are immediately production ready. They're enough to demo, but you probably learned a lot out of it. And then also have an idea of, hey, this is how we would finish this project out. So it was very beneficial from both the skilling up and then lessons learned and how should we continue down the path of finishing out this project or use case.
Well, and I think that's so important of just being able to remind manufacturers to take a step back. One of the things that I promote in my 6 gears of gratitude is access to the tools and resources that people need to get the job done. And when you do something like a hackathon, it is impacting production because obviously people aren't on the floor and they're not specifically doing that daily task. And by giving the people the opportunity to, number one, do something different, get out of the day-to-day of what they're doing, but be able to learn something else, to be able to work with a team, to work with a cross-departmental team, like you said, that is going across the organization, building relationships. It's just, I thought, such a great reminder of, again, just taking those 2 steps backwards to go 5 or 6 steps forward, because maybe in that one day you discovered something that you would have taken you months to discover on your own.
I think that the way that a lot of manufacturers and distributors are looking at AI is as a continuous improvement project. And the more conversations I have with organizations, the more I'm realizing we need to treat it as such. And the answer may not be AI, even though you say, oh, I want to have an AI project. But as you're doing sort of that work, it's almost like an A3 process or a Kaizen process of, okay, let's take a step back and what are the failure modes of this particular process? And what are we looking to accomplish? And what does success look like? How are we going to measure it? You may realize, oh, wow, there are other ways to solve this other than AI. It could be automation. It could be as simple as a piece of paper. But whatever that is, I think it's better for the organization. And that same team can continue to move on to the next potential area of improvement. Framing it in that way, I think, makes it a lot more palatable and makes a lot more sense than to say, hey, I want to buy a hammer and now which machine can I start slamming on?
So from your perspective, what's the hardest part about bridging new technology, especially AI, into manufacturing environments?
Something that's most helpful about...
What's the hardest part about bringing in new technology?
The change management aspect is very significant here. I think also the fact that things have been changing. So for manufacturers, and this sounds cheap because I am a partner, but having a third party or even having a good community group that you're involved in, if it's the Steelmakers of America or whatever that community is, where you can share what I call it is AI pockets of value. So where are those areas of your organizations where you've had value driven by deploying AI? And sharing that with your colleagues and other people in your industry, and then understanding what did it take, right? And what challenges were there. And then thirdly, probably is the data, because in my experience, until you start to report on the data or use the data in a very significant way, no one's going to proactively decide, oh, I'm going to fill out the website address on every single contact, or something that doesn't seem to make as much impact. But the moment someone raises their hand and say, hey, we've got this AI or this automation that uses this exact field on the production order, we need it to be right, then all of a sudden people realize now it's part of the job and it's not a want to have, it's a need to have.
As we're getting to the end of our time together, if somebody's thinking about incorporating more technology, either automation or AI, into their business, what's the best place to start?
If you look at where a lot of companies start, it's generally in customer service. If you look at large language models, they're really there to understand the human language. And so anytime you have something like a quality report, or you have a inquiry from a customer service person, then the AI can start to understand that. One use case that I get excited about is for maintenance technicians. And it's just connecting up all of those hefty manuals to a chat bot to allow a maintenance technician to be able to ask questions. What is the procedure for replacing this cutting head? Or I've done X, Y, and Z, but the machine is still vibrating. What should my next step be? And the AI is pretty creative and also grounded when you give it the manuals. And so it can help you get much farther than you would in the past, or it can help you merely just get to the answer faster. And that's one of the use cases that's very easy to implement and doesn't cost a lot. So it's a good place to start and get us humans starting to interact with AI, because even though I work in AI, I'm still learning to do that. And I'm into it 2 years by now.
Well, and if somebody did want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, if they would go to mcaconnect.com, that would be the best way for you to contact us. You can see some of our example use cases and what we do, and there's an easy contact form there.
Awesome. Dag, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. Do me a favor and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow this network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either send your buddies to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the Manufacturers Network podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow the network, the stronger and deeper the community we'll all have. Thanks again, and I appreciate you.